Welcome back, Speedrun Ragnarok. We are here just about ready to get started with the Lufia 2 Rise of the Sinistrals Ancient Cave Any Percent Run by Ellison. Ellison, uh, GG's on getting your setup moved and everything. You ready for your run?
I think I'm about as ready as I'll ever be.
Excellent. And I'm Invenerable. I'll be your host for this run. So, of relevant note, there is an ongoing rolling incentive for this. Whatever capsule monster's in the lead, Ellison will have to swap to. So get those donations in if you have one you want to see active.
As a quick suggestion, I would really appreciate any donation incentives that do not go towards Flash, but from what I understand, Flash is currently leading. If you feel like swapping or changing that, chat, please help. Also, if you wouldn't mind rolling a reminder for me just what the incentives are currently at, because I don't know if the rest of the world knows, but last I heard it was Nikos as the hero, because Nikos from video games is pretty important, right?
Oh yes, well not only is the hero Nikos, your capsule monster is also going to be named Nikos.
Is it all caps or?
Actually it's just initial capitalization and then lowercase the rest of the way.
There we go.
And then for your fourth party member, I think we're about to have to close that out as well. That is Ceylon. So I'm going to go ahead and get these three closed out, and we'll be leaving that capsule monster incentive rolling.
Okay. Sorry, just tested my split timer. Okay. Now, before I get started with this run, I do want to say thank you, everyone, for having me aboard. Last year, I participated in this with a race against the infamous Elmagus. He is what I would recognize as the undisputed world champ, although it's going to be changing pretty soon if I have anything to do with it. Or some people in chat, if you see people like That's Fair Zach or some other speedrunner people, go ahead and give a shout out if you're part of the crew. You'll see I have a tracker set up on the side where my damage and jelly HP is. I've also got a tracker set up with the cores. If you're familiar with metal slimes, cores are this game's metal slimes. There's 4 different kinds, and I'll be praying for one of each. Finally, the tracker on the left side is just a list of key specific items. I find that people ask very frequently, do you have a this or that? And it's really helpful if I can just have a tracker set up, so that way it saves having to answer chat 2 zillion times that no, I don't have a Decker Blade, and yes, I have one Fatal Pick as my most best worst equipment. That's the relative setup that you need to know as to why you're looking at what you're looking at. This is something that can be done in less than an hour. I'm shooting for 2 hours because this game is kind of hostile towards the player, but in a marathon setting, I'm playing it a little safe by padding the time quite a bit. So you'll be seeing some safety strats, and I'll go through those as best I can. As a reminder, I'm starting with Ceylon and Flash. Ceylon will represent the RPG Valks pretty well, and Flash, I think, is a girl. So without further ado, I'm going to give myself a countdown. I don't know if you need one, but I'll count myself down otherwise.
Oh, by all means, you have the timer. It's your run. Go ahead and roll with it.
All right, Nikos from Video Games tackles the Ancient Cave in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So this is the Ancient Cave. What this game is Lufia 2, Rise of the Sinistrals for the Super Nintendo. The game here is a sequel to Lufia 1, Fortress of Doom, which is an alright game for the SNES. The main thing about this is a secondary mode of the game. The exciting part about this is that you can just play strictly gift mode. We're going Nikos, of course, for that. Gift mode is just the Ancient Cave. It lets you select party members that you wouldn't normally have access to. And it lets you just change up your party in ways that you normally can't. So, for instance, there's certain characters that don't even have access to the cave, like Tia. Firebird's great. Normally I'd bring Tia as my waifu, but I'm not able to because you guys didn't seem to allow it. That's totally fine. You notice I have a pet capsule monster. In this case, it's Shaggy, Flash the Shaggy. What we're taking advantage of here is the fact that I have an AI party member, more or less, and it's not a very good party member. Flash is, in my opinion, one of the worst. but one thing that Flash does do is heal from time to time, so we may be seeing a couple of little buffs here and there, if nothing else. This is a 100 floor randomizer. It's a procedurally generated cave or dungeon, and in my opinion, it is the original roguelike. There are monsters that we can kind of predict that they're going to be. There are chest contents that we can sort of predict based on the period of time in which we are currently at, based on our location in the cave. And there are certain obstacles that we're going to have to worry about in terms of key monsters that will be reaching sooner rather than later, depending on where we're at. Fixed items include spells, like the Firebird I got earlier on, and potions like regains, which revive you, high magics, which restore your MP, that sort of thing. Those things are pretty consistent. The other things that are not necessarily consistent are equipment, and we know where things appear, like every so many floors a certain better weapon will appear, or better armor will appear. One interesting quirk of the cave, though, is that accessories, shields, and helmets stop spawning after floor 9. That is a glorious, glorious glitch of the game, and you'll notice that if I make it farther into the cave, that there will be more and more glitches. Shoutouts to Nikos for healing Nikos.
Nikos from video games has to look out for Nikos from video games.
Of course.
Just wouldn't be fair to all Nikos kind.
Other quirks about the cave, not necessarily limited to the chests and the enemies, are just certain aspects of our party members. The very final floor of the cave is a glitched mess, and one important thing about this glitched mess is that it is home to the jelly juggernaut, the most vicious of jellies, the gelatinous genius himself. And our goal is to make it there in 2 hours and kill him. We don't really kill him, he'll just kind of brag about how amazing we are and celebrate our amazing powers. Wow, this is amazing, these heals early on. But it's kind of difficult to do that because you only have 3 turns to actually initiate the kill. The exciting thing about getting there is that you want to have certain party members that will allow you to do the things that you find more important for your kill. Party members like Decker are borderline integral to doing something, especially in a marathon setting, because there's certain weapons that you can get which have side abilities. Side abilities, or IP abilities, are what weapons, armor, and accessories can do on the outside of just a standard attack. Because the jelly has 9,980 HP, we're going to want to take that out in 3 turns because that's all the time we have to do it. And the Decker Blade has an ability that just cuts the HP straight in half. There are some other ones I'll be going over as I get them, but in general, the Decker Blade is the one thing that we're hoping for. We hope to find that out of a red chest, and I say red chest because there are blue chests, which we'll eventually be finding. Blue chests are neat because they give you really, really overpowered items, especially for whatever phase of the cave that you're in. The con is that they don't spawn very often, which is expected for something like that. But the more blue chest items we get, the better our odds are of survival as well.
It is, of course, a shame that you're not doing reject percent, because if so, you'd end up with about 4 Decker Blades by the time you reach the bottom.
I see someone's done their homework. So, an interesting quirk of this game, which you just saw me doing, is that you have the ability to swipe your sword. Swiping gives you basically a pass of an action, and that's because in this game, and it's really cool, the overworld, or the map, I guess you could say, for any dungeon allows you to do things, and every step you take, every breath you take, every move you make allows you to move, and enemies around the map will move in sequence. Some move randomly after every couple of swipes of your sword, some move directionally based on the direction you move, some just kind of do whatever they want. And some enemies are actually larger than what we see on screen. For instance, there's a couple of enemies that are 2x2 in size rather than 1x1. We're going to be looking out for a lot of opportunities, especially later on, to take advantage of enemy movement to get as many back attacks as possible, because that gives us a free turn, and free turns make it so that way we have to spend less time in battle. The less time we are in battle, the better, because we're not necessarily that durable, especially Salon. But we also have a lot of enemies in this game that can just instantly end runs, and by that I mean instantly. So we're going to have to be cautious, especially in the later floors.
Well, while we're exploring this floor, do we have time for a quick donation?
Of course.
BDragon28 has donated $50 and just simply wishes you good luck on the ancient cave.
Thank you, V-Dragon.
Just a reminder, during this jelly fight, Speedrun Ragnarok is raising money for Take This. Take This helps people in the gaming community suffering from mental illness by letting them know they are not alone in their struggles and there are treatment options out there to help.
I'll need a few treatment options by the time I'm done with this cave. It's a pretty stressful environment. Practice for this has led to a couple of runs coming close to an hour, but you'll find in a lot of runs that you just don't get the things that you need. These early floors are pretty crucial because they give you access to some very exclusive items that can be helpful for the entirety of the run. Not only enemy drops, but also just things that you don't normally have access to, like accessories. The best ones are item drops, but there are some really helpful ones that you can just find randomly. And if you're really lucky, you'll find a good one that will let you take something out later on.
With your estimate, is there that time factored into that for the possibility of using a Providence to restart early on, or is this fully intended one dive only?
That's a good question. First, I'll explain what Providence is. Providence allows you to escape the cave, taking with you any blue chest items that you have, so that way you can enter the cave and try again with your goods. It's important to do that because if you don't Providence out, then you lose all of your blue chest items, and that can be a huge hindrance. There is a pretty big wall at about the 30-minute mark for a marathon safe run called Blue Mimics, which is in the early 30s, 29, 30, and 31. They just have the ability to obliterate you, and if you get unfortunately placed into a match with 2, 3, 4, sometimes they can even be on top of the stairs that you step on to proceed. It's best to just escape out and take the loot that you have with you and, well, try again, for lack of better terms. I do plan on potentially using that, so it is something I'm keeping in the back of my mind. And if you see me pass floor 31, then I'm pretty much in safe haven.
And chat's over here mentioning something, a Gades blade. You want to mention what that does?
Yeah. Now, blue chest items that we talked about are important because they allow you to do a lot of cool things. They all have a special IP ability that pretty much at the full meter of your little yellow meter, which you'll notice in combat is the 3rd meter under your HP and your blue MP meter. The Gades blade is important because it's a powerful weapon that I probably won't be able to use since I didn't bring Guy. The Gades blade allows you to hit one enemy up to 8 times, and considering you only have 3 turns worth of combat to fight the jelly, that translates to 3 turns worth of attacks, and normally all you can do is hit it 3 times, possibly a couple more if you find a good accessory. Your heavy beaters like Decker without a Decker blade, and Guy, who doesn't really have access to that and therefore just has a lot more limited options, really want the Gades blade because it just gives them so much more power and well, things to do. With my luck, I'm going to find 2 Gades blades because it's something that I pretty much can't use. But if Decker does not have a Decker blade and I find some other good stuff, I may actually end up having him use it. It just depends on what your luck is.
What are some of the other items that chat should be looking out for you to pick up to ooh and ah and get really excited over?
Anything that you see that happens to have the word deadly in it is extremely helpful. This game has, in the Ancient Cave mode, items specifically tailored around it called deadly items. These are built to give you mercy, as I like to call it. Sorry, dealing with this buffalo is a little pain here. Deadlies have an 80% chance of killing on contact, and well, it's killing non-undead enemies on contact, and that's going to be integral for killing some guys, especially in the 80s and 90s that you just don't have an easy way to deal with. Users of them in our party include Artie, Salon, ooh, Horse Rock, that's pretty rare, and also Maxim has access to a deadly. The IPs of deadly weapons are also good because they allow you to do fractional percentage amounts of damage to enemies. Gale is good. And percentage-based damage against the jelly is, as we already covered, very important to being able to kill it quickly. The deadly rod is the best bang for the buck as far as deadlies go because you can use its 1/8 of HP damage ability up to 3 times in the battle with the jelly. The deadly sword has up to 1/6 of damage possibility, but it can only be used 1 time, and it's really weak otherwise. Because Maxim isn't the best combatant, you'll find that he just doesn't get a whole lot of value out of it. Come on. The other not necessarily deadly but deadly weapon is a Fatal Pick. It's basically a deadly rod for Salon and Artie that do not have the perk of being able to instantly kill stuff. The last thing that we're going to look out for is a Berserk Blade. It's a pretty garbage weapon, but it's cursed. It's very powerful. Only Decker can equip it, and we just don't want to be stuck with it. Here we are with cores, and we got no cores. Big surprise. The Berserk Blade you can find pretty early on, and with your Optimize, which is a very quick way to equip stuff, you can accidentally give yourself a Berserk Blade as your only weapon, and finding a Curse Lifter, which allows you to uncurse deadly weapons and Berserk Blades and a couple of other things, unlocks their ability to be unequipped. There are plenty of runs I don't find Curse Lifters in, so I don't want to bank on it. I'm just going to play it safe and feed it to our capsule monster of choice.
Well, speaking of your capsule monster of choice, I owe you an apology. I did not see the part of the I'm assuming it was B-Dragon's donation that this $50 came from, but we do have a new leader on your active capsule monster. You need to swap that one over to Blaze when you get a moment.
Ah, good. I get to flip him out for Nikos. Blaze is a good dog. He is a fire element. All the capsule monsters follow one specific elemental type. Flash is holy, and he's alright, all things considered. Blaze is fire, and fire is pretty good. He has decent offensive options. He doesn't heal you every other turn for 20 points, which becomes useless after you're level 3. He has some good attacks, and he happens to be elementally effective against a bunch of enemies as we proceed through the cave. So we are happy to see Blaze. If you want to keep Blaze, he is a good dog, and I'm not going to complain about having him. The others include Darby, who is the Dark Element. He has the ability to instant kill things. There is... Ooh, we got 1 core. We got 2 cores. I'll cover cores here in just a sec. The best pets are Darby for marathon setting, followed by Sully for just saving time, and Zeppy, who's the naked buttfish, because he's just the best, period. Getting cores here is a big deal. They only spawn red ones between floors 11, 12, and 13. They have such a high chance to run away that you just don't get them very often, and in a world record attempt, you're probably just gonna run right past them. If you happen to be level 1 and you fight 2 cores, you're pretty much set for the next 30 floors, pretty much, in terms of EXP, because you just gain so much. In my attempt to complete this run, I'm going to try and get as many cores as possible, just because it helps bulk up my party and will give me just better chances of survival. The next batch of cores we're looking for is going to be in the 30s, low 30s, 32, 3, and 4. So we're kind of praying to see some blues, because those blues give you a real good jump of EXP. After that, you'll see greens in low 40s, 1, 2, and 3. And then no cores appear in 58, 59, and 60. Oh, it's 3 cores. Maybe. You'll see that we did insane amounts of damage when I cast Gale a few minutes ago. I'm not doing insane amounts of damage now with my punches, because cores have insanely high defense, but due to what I believe is a glitch in the game, they have borderline negative magical resistance. That negative magical resistance makes it so your spells do just hilarious amounts of damage. And you'll find that the more powerful the core as the game progresses, the more damage our magical attacks do. It's kind of strange that way. Ooh,
so there's just a solo one, that's just why you swung with everyone. Even with the high defense, you knew that they would be able to take it down if it didn't run. But if you have a chance of taking more than one down, you're going to do the spell.
Correct. Because MP is kind of a commodity in the cave, I do try and conserve it whenever possible. The convenience of being able to run through the cave is that you'll find bushes, and bushes hide occasionally what we call heal tiles or heal pads. You step on them, your HP is full. Bada bing, bada boom, nice and simple. The campaign of the game has MP tiles, which do the same for your magic points, but you don't have them in the cave. So where you're taking advantage of HP tiles and your plethora of HP restoring items, you don't have the same convenience for MP. You need one of like 5 or so specific items or a handful of IP abilities to restore your MP, and it's just easier to prepare for safety by playing it safe. Now, cores, when you're at level 1, sometimes you can't kill unless you have a handful of decent weapons. And they're always faster than you, so they're 99%. If they're not running away, it's you just gotta deal with it. But when there's only one, typically 2 attacks will kill a core, so you don't have to worry too much about not being able to kill one. We're on floor 15, and this is where the chat can start cheering Decker Blade Dream, because I'm praying for it. Oh, Deadly Rod, though, that's good. The Decker Blade starts appearing at floor 15. Other key items include the Deadly Rod, which I believe starts appearing at floor 4, the Deadly Sword at floor 3, and other big equips start appearing at 30, and then the best ones appear after the Decker Blade at 51 through 60. Those include the Myth Blade, Old Sword, and Lizard Blow. We'll cover those as we get a little closer. Finding an early Decker Blade is just a huge sigh of relief because it's one less thing to worry about. It's not the best weapon, but against a jelly, there's no contest. It's just exactly what you want to use. And you'll see at this point, I'm really going to spend a lot more time looking around floors because chest hunting later on sometimes just becomes very difficult. When big dangerous enemies surround the map, you just don't have the ability to get to the chest as frequently as possible. So playing it safe here.
What's the first floor where you really have to be really paranoid about the monsters that are going to be hunting you down on it?
In terms of paranoia, floor number maybe 5 or 6, because Buffalo can entrap you. Red Mimics can immediately end your run if you don't have decent equipment and you're not leveled up at all. And Wispies, which are the little white balls of light that you saw buzzing around, and Wingers, which are going to be coming up pretty soon. They're little purple kind of butterfly-looking things. They're kind of scary because they're quick and they can hit your party with semi-powerful attacks. They're the first dudes that start casting magic. Beyond that, though, those aren't necessarily run enders. They're just either big time wasters or just headaches to have to recover from. Hey, look, we found Flash again. Don't worry, this is just a lightning spell. The next enemies that we gotta really look out for, probably going to be blue mimics in the 30 range. Again, 29, 30, and 31. Another Deadly Rod, are you serious? That's actually a really, really big convenience. The blue mimics, they can obliterate you. They come in sometimes sets of 3 or 4. They have an attack that just shreds your party. It does a ton of damage. Salon's usually killed in 1 hit. Artie sometimes 2. Maxim usually 2. Decker can occasionally live through 3 hits. And if they do their attack that hits the whole party, you're gonzo. So you gotta be careful with those. After that, you got kind of a lull because we'll be hunting a few easy enemies for EXP, and then we'll be worrying once we hit 36, 37, and 30. I'm sorry, 37, 38, and 39 for assassins, which are the first enemies that have 1-hit kill moves. Notice I said assassin and not assassin. That is one of the game's many glorious typos. There are mistypos all over the place in this game, so we're going to be laughing at those as they come up. Let me get Hydora Hype if we ever see one of them. Assassins are not the worst enemies to deal with because they're pretty easy to kill. They just have the ability to one-shot you. And considering your IP meter fills up through combat, the more you get hit, the more it fills up. If you die, you lose it all. And to be able to do things like use Fatal Blow, which is the Decker Blade special move, and other special IP abilities, you need a full IP or just a lot of IP. We're going to try and conserve it by dying as infrequently as possible, so we're hoping for none of those. The next big obstacle, which I would say is probably the final big obstacle for a while, is a group of recolored assassins called ninjas in the mid-40s, 44, 5, and 6. They appear right after the green cores for 3 floors, and they are terrible because they can attack up to 2 times. They're almost always faster than you unless you get some really decent equipment, and they have an ability called Knife Thrower, which hits everyone pretty hard. They're a bit more manageable than blue mimics because they don't come in 4s, but they're still just quite a headache. After that, we don't have a lot to worry about until we get to the 60s, which is Teleporter Hell, upper 70s and 80s, which are Genies, Archfiends, and my favorite, Gold Dragons. We'll cover those as we get there, though, because they're kind of difficult to explain without actually being able to see.
Gotcha. Do we have time for another donation?
Yeah, go for it.
We have $51 from F for Betty. While the capsule monster name is locked, this one's for you, Betty, who was taken before her time and given Fs to pay respects before her time too. And we go in Fumi. So
Did that put us to Fumi?
yeah, Gels is now in the lead with $51. So kind of neck and neck and neck, just $11 separating these three capsule monsters. But Gels does have the lead.
All right. Well, we've got Fumi, who is the first capsule monster you have access to in the game. He is normal element. He's kind of bad. He doesn't really do a whole lot. He runs away pretty easily, but he does like to punch stuff. So if I'm stuck with him until the very end, I can't necessarily complain because there are worse options. The options are just Flash in terms of being way worse.
Speaking of options that were already locked in place, though, you mentioned that Tia is your waifu. What makes her a better choice other than Ceylon, or is that just your personal?
Well, I prefer dealing with facts, and objective facts are that Tia is the better option, or the best waifu. She is, in the context of the main campaign, the second party member that joins you. She's not technically the strongest by any means. She's a mage, she's pretty quick. She got completely bastardized in the remake of this game, which never ever happened, but we won't talk about that. And her quirk is just being the second fastest character outside of Artie, who is in our party. The convenience of having Tia is that she is basically a squishier Salon, but when you're fast enough to use your deadly rod and kill enemies in one hit, you don't need to worry about dealing with combat, especially in the later floors when many of the enemies simply only have 2 or 3 counts of them per round. They become too big. They can't fit that many enemies on the screen. So having 2 dudes and then having 2 deadly users between Artie and Tia is just better. Salon is the character that can equip the most, or the greatest variety of things in the cave, but her combat potential is better for dealing with the jelly and worse for everything else. Guy is a pretty good waifu. He's the REO Speedwagon of the game. He's just a big meathead who likes to hit things hard, and he's pretty tanky. He's the second tankiest after Decker, so if your terms of being able to explore through the cave successfully includes surviving a bunch of big hits, he is your man. He's quite good at that. Lexus is the fourth option, and he's seeing some surgeons as a pretty good dude. He's the game's scientist, and he joins you for a while and then leaves the party, but then rejoins you, and as the guy who invents your submarine that allows you to get to the final portion of the game. What am I doing? The convenience of him is that because he's a super duper mega genius, his ability to cast magic spells is unparalleled. He has a lot of MP. He's not the fastest. He has a pretty limited weapon selection, but his power with spells is top notch. No one beats him in that. So because spells are so easy to get access to, you want to get Lexus, and if you do have him use Thunder, which is the most powerful elemental spell that he has access to, second most powerful spell in the game. And if you get a Thunder Ring in the early floors, that doubles the power of elemental spells like Thunder. It's really amazing to have him slinging spells from the back row and let your heavy hitters sit in the front. You heard me mention Rose, which is something that this game has. I'm sure you've noticed in combat that I put Decker and Maxim in the front. I'm sorry, Decker and Nikos in the front, and Artie and Salon in the back. People in the front row deal more damage, they take more damage, and you want to be able to maximize that so you can deal as much damage as possible. That, for some reason, translates to the percentage-based attacks like Fatal Blow, the Deadly Rods, Devastation, which you'll hopefully see later on. And for whatever reason, it doesn't really affect magical spells, which, I mean, I guess you wouldn't expect magic spells to really matter no matter where they're cast. So we're going to try to rely on our casters like Salon and Artie sitting in the back row, doing a couple of things for front row combat, but not necessarily anything major, while Decker and Maxim stick in the front. The other thing about back related stuff is the back attack, which is something that you can do if you attack an enemy by running up behind them. The convenience of back attacks is that you get a full round of free combat, you can instantly run away, and I don't think I need to explain how big of a deal that is. Teleporters like that They can be pretty annoying to get back attacks on, but when they teleport, they always face the same way, so they're exploitable. But other things about the back is something you'll notice I'm doing. I'm kind of entering the stairs from what I would jokingly call the back. It's the bottom. I'll be doing that almost exclusively as we proceed through the cave, because the way enemies load in the rooms that you'll be progressing through is that they'll always be facing downward at the very start once they're generated in. And if you enter the stairs from the bottom facing up, then they cannot get a back attack on you. You don't want to get back attacked because that's a full round of combat from them. And some enemies, they can just outright shred you, so you don't want to have to deal with that, time loss or game over, which is entirely possible, especially later on. Not all enemies have backs. Some enemies, like the jellies early on, they don't have a back to have a back attack from. There are scarier enemies later on, specifically Archfiends, that don't have a back. They just shred you. Oh, hey, look, a blue chest. This is a blue mimic. They don't really have backs. Sometimes the stairs can spawn under them. They don't move, but they obliterate you if you run into them, so you do have to be careful. Blue chests have a little sheen to them, whereas blue mimics do not. So if we're lucky, in the next couple of floors, you might see a blue mimic and a blue chest near each other. But the big thing is that the most scary enemies in the final floors of this cave, dragons, the metallic dragons, copper, silver, and gold, and dark summoners, they all have backs, and they appear for the last 13 or so floors. So we don't need to worry too much about those guys, since we can probably get back attacks on them. And the convenience of doing a back attack is that you can do something like this, where you can just get a whole free turn of combat and take them out before they do it.
I do remember roughly a year ago when I was playing through this game vanilla for the first time and got to the cave, the fact that no one in my chat warned me about red or blue mimics, and it was definitely delightful to run into those things both for the first time, and a memory I will always treasure.
Well, it's one thing that it's one of those mistakes in life that you just learn about the hard way, and you pray that you just never end up making that mistake again. I got unlucky there. I consider that baloney RNG, because I don't want to say the bad words since I got my daughter here with me, but every now and then you're just shafted with opportunities that just don't give you anything that you can do. These lions, for instance, they would have had an 80% chance to die from that attack from Artie, and it missed. A miss just means the special ability doesn't trigger and your attack power is too low to deal any damage. That time it did trigger, so we're able to take advantage of a nice happy kill. We got a Lion Fang here, and that's actually a pretty good accessory. There are weapons that deal more damage to the jelly than others, and that doesn't just come from their attack power or their IP abilities, just being IP abilities. But their IP ability will have a multiplier to how much power they have. The best weapon in the game that everybody has access to, and I mean everybody, even your scientific genius, Lexus, it is the Lizard Blow, and it has IP ability that does 3 times damage to dragon type. I'm sorry, it does 3 times the amount of damage it would normally do, plus extra damage to dragon type enemies. The Lion Fang is an attack power boosting and defense power boosting accessory, so of course we want to stack those on people who are doing that. People who do percentage based attacks, like Decker with the Decker Blade, we don't need to pump up their attack power because their attack doesn't really get boosted by things like that. So things like the Lion Fang we're happy to see. There are some accessories that allow you to use multi-attack moves. We'll be looking for, the first time in my life, the benefits of Cancer, because the Cancer rocks dropped by Garbos, blue crabs coming up pretty soon, they happen to allow you to attack twice per combat round, and the Hydora rock, which comes at the same time as No Cores in the 58 range, lets you attack with a triple attack. It also boosts your attack power by a little bit. Blue chest, here we go. This is not the Gorgon rock that we want. That's a Gorgon rock that just boosts power. It's pretty good, though.
Nice of them to include both those in the game so that you no confusion at all, right?
Yeah, it makes it nice and easy. The Gorgon rock is an accessory that drops from a Gorgon enemy, which appears in the 70 range. The ability of that is a 1/8 damage or 1/8 HP damaging move. It sucks up a lot of IP. It can only be used 1 time compared to the Deadly Rod's 3 times, but it lets you keep a big hefty weapon on, so that way if you have someone who really can't do anything else, they can just chunk that out. The Mist Rapier is pretty good because that is a fairly powerful 3x weapon. And we like 3x weapons because they, of course, do lots of damage. I don't have any heals yet, so I'm a little nervous. The benefits to having things like Mist Rapier is that Maxim can use them, and also RT, and I think Salon can as well. Certain other weapons that are better, of course, people have limited access to, so of course you want to get things that you have a little flexibility with. Decker Blade is Decker's, and in a reject run, which was being described earlier, you don't have Decker. In this run, because I have Salon, I have a lot of weapon flexibility, which is a perk. That's why I'm going to keep her unequipped as far as the Deadly Rod goes for as long as possible, because I'd like to, in the event that I don't find a Curse Lifter, make sure that she can actually use whatever weapon I end up finding, since her attack power is admittedly pretty decent. So we're at 30 range. Cores here, blue cores appear, and blue cores are pretty nice. They give as much experience as 5 red cores, which is pretty hard to beat, all things considered. So we're trying to kill them as frequently as we can. They hurt a bit more, as you can see, but we're scaled up pretty high, so we don't have to worry too much about that. And 2 red cores for a little cherry on top. The only bad thing about this is that we have to watch Nikos gain a whole bunch of EXP. By Nikos, I mean our little pile of marshmallows, not Nikos, our little red-haired boy wonder. This is the part of the game where we start to see some scarier enemies. The dudes that we're about to run into down below us have the ability to attack twice per turn, and this is the first time we're seeing them. They're incredibly weak to fire, so I'm going to actually cast Firebird here, just because I have the chance to. It helps offset things like party members missing, but it doesn't always matter when your people just die and can't cast them. Enemy elemental weaknesses are paramount in this game, and especially as you proceed through the game's cave. Early on, it doesn't matter quite as much, gosh darn it. But later on, it will make a big deal, because you're just going to be able to obliterate things in 1 or 2 hits with the proper elemental weapon or spell, where you just don't have the ability to with an incorrect weapon or spell. So definitely knowing your enemy's elements matters, and you do want to do a little bit of homework. We do have a guide, Google spreadsheet that is run by our basically Headmaster Kriegspire over at the Ancient Cave Discord. That includes all elemental weaknesses for enemies, all the status ailments that you can commit to them, enemy HP, agility, the stuff that matters. So if you ever do decide that you want to join the Ancient Cave Discord, or if you want to give this game a run of your own, I definitely suggest checking it out and looking at that Bible, because it tells you not only enemy stats and things to look out for, but also the other useful stuff, like how to deal with the jelly when it's your first time going there, what stuff you want to try to save, what stuff you don't necessarily need, that sort of thing. It's a good place to hang out. We're a nice group of misfits, and we just like to help people learn how to run the cave.
I'm going to keep picking your brain, just because when I did my vanilla playthrough, I enjoyed the Ancient Cave so much, and I read said Bible and followed it to get my jelly kill before I even advanced the storyline. I was so addicted to it. But you mentioned not wanting to put that Deadly Rod on Ceylon because you want to be able to have her adapt to the situation at hand. Are there any fights that you would see blocking your way that you'd be like, nope, I have to equip it?
Yeah, coming up, if I find assassins, I may consider it, depending on if I end up in a party room, which is a room that just has a consolidation of all the enemies and all the chests, or at least the majority of the chests on the floor in one spot. Hey! There are other enemies, ninjas, which can just go so quickly that it's going to be a big deal to kill them as fast as possible. I may hesitate on giving her the Deadly Rod if I don't have the opportunity for a back attack, because she'll die in 1 hit anyway and won't get the opportunity to use it, and then I'll just have to deal with the Curse Lifter later on. And sometimes it's easier just to resurrect her.
I don't know if you have chat pulled up, but there was an unreasonable amount of hype as soon as you picked up that Decker Blade. So I think everyone's really excited about the run now, so don't let that give you any additional pressure or anything.
Yeah, our run can actually happen now because we can effectively deal half or more damage to the jelly. Because of the way front row mechanics and range works in terms of how damage can work, everything operates in damage in this game in eighths. I don't know why, but it just does. So based on your location, if you're in the back row, you can deal an average, we'll say with the move like that, of 87.5% of the damage that an enemy would have, because you're rounding down by 1/8. But there's also a variance of 1/8 that's kind of built in there too, so you could deal upwards of what you could consider to be 100% of your attack, or a little bit less. And conversely, if you're in the front row, you can deal up to 1.25 times the amount of damage that you could possibly do. So we are looking out for opportunities where Decker in the front row deals sometimes upwards of 6,000 damage, which that's way more than a little under 5,000. So we're going to definitely be praying for those opportunities. The other conveniences is that because spells aren't limited in the back row in terms of that modifier, they have a much tighter damage range. We don't have to worry as much about getting screwed. So people like Artie, who may be stuck with his Deadly Rod for the entire cave and cannot unequip it with the Curse Lifter to change it up and use its more effective attack. Points for Fumi getting that kill. He can just sit in the back and sling zaps, which are the most powerful spell that we have access to in the cave. It's a mixed bag because you don't always have the most options, so that's what the Ancient Cave is all about, is just planning to make sure that you have as many coverage options for your party as possible. Decker having Decker Blade, though, really does mitigate a lot of that, because he alone has the ability to deal that much damage. No one else can really come close. A few party members can sometimes come up near 3,000 or so if they have the proper equipment, but you rely very heavily on rare things like the Gades Blade, or a Sky Sword and a Hydora Rock, or some other silly combinations. Oof. So this is our first encounter with Assassins, so we're going to be very careful here. One thing you'll notice in my run is I'm using exclusively potions for my heals. We got a back attack on these guys. I'll explain that in a moment. I don't have any healing spells. There are 3 healing spells and 2 revival spells, which also heal. I would love to find one, but beggars can't be choosers, so we're just using our potions to get by as far as possible. That's why I'm opening as many chests as I am here, because we don't necessarily need as much, but anything to help us sustain our survival is important. The reason I got that attack, or I'm sorry, that back attack on that assassin just a moment ago, is because the way the game works in terms of enemy battle qualifications, if you hit them on the side, or if they hit you on the side, it's a 50% chance that you or them will get the opportunity for a back attack, or a got in first, preemptive strike, whatever you want to call it. And if they hit you, then they'll get that opportunity. So you want to give yourself as much of a chance as possible to get those, and sometimes you only get those 50-50s. Now, winning a 50-50 is a big deal, because then you don't worry about things like getting instantly killed. Ninjas and assassins. Oh, sorry?
Instantly killed, bad thing. Okay, I'm just updating my notes.
Yeah. What makes 3 deadly rods? Are you kidding me? What makes them so scary is that not only do they have a lot of power, not only can they sometimes kill you instantly, and not only can they, as you progress through the cave, deal with them hitting multiple party members at once, but they move really fast, really far. They charge you as soon as you walk into the room, which is why you'll see me hide in the doors here and just kind of run in place. They can't walk in doorways, which is a convenience of enemies that walk around. Teleporting enemies can teleport into doorways, but enemies like ninjas, jellies, they can't walk into doorways. You're safe inside of doorways, so you can see if they're in the room, and if you happen to catch an enemy where they're on the bottom side of a door, like down there, you can make it so that way you can guarantee a 50-50 on them, depending on how they enter, or enter your zone. So it's just a matter of playing things safe around these floors. This tends to be the first area in the cave in which I start to skip combat, because I've already found I already found Garbos, and I don't think I got a Cancer Rock out of them. If chat wants to correct you, they can totally feel free to do so, but I didn't see one. After that, we have the Assassins, and we don't have any enemy drops that are relevant for quite a while, up until the 50s. So we're just going to try to plow through in a regular setting and save as much time as possible by not opening chests, not dealing with combat, and just skipping everything we see. typically in the 40s and 50s range in a Thunder's good in a marathon run, or I'm sorry, in a regular run. You just skip everything because you don't need to worry about it. There are some enemies that if I can hit the stairs, like that samurai I just ran away from, I'm going to do my best to avoid, just because they're difficult to deal with in terms of combat if you don't have a good way to heal up, which I still lack. These are the Hydora enemies that I was talking about earlier. They are not the official Hydoras, even though they are called Hydoras. The ones that drop the mighty Hydora rock are called Sky Hydoras or High Hydoras. They're pretty deadly, but I have a deadly rod to deal with them. I have a freeze sword, which I found, and it's because they're weak to ice. I can take advantage of that. And hopefully they'll drop a Hydora rock, and then we won't have to worry about battling enemies ever again. Or at least for their drops. The reprieve here of what we're looking for is green cores now. We're in the early 40s, and again, this is where the green cores appear, 40s 1, 2, and 3. After this, we got to be really careful, and it's entirely possible that I could have the run end due to unfortunate luck if I get stuck into a situation where I have to fight ninjas in a series of combat that I just don't have the ability to heal back from. After we pass ninjas, it's actually pretty smooth sailing. As long as I'm careful, I don't need to worry about running into things that will kill me, because a lot of the stuff that is really threatening doesn't necessarily charge at you or do things that just outright slaughter you in one hit. Let's see if we get a green core. Nope, 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 and nope. Are we still at our little capsule monster Fumi, by the way, or has that changed? Just out of curiosity.
It is still Gels or Fumi leading with $51. Blaze is in second with $50, just a $1 difference. Anyone who wants to swap those two can make it happen very easily. And Flash, aka Nikos, is sitting at $40, so just $12 away from overtaking the other two. So if you want to force Ellison to swap out that capsule monster, get those donations in.
And by that he means if you want to force Ellison to throw away all the glorious EXP that he just got for his capsule monster just now, then yeah, feel free. Alright, so we found a Curse Lifter. Curse Lifters are the unique item I was talking about earlier. They can spawn anywhere from floor 1 onward, and they're so important. They are so important because they uncurse the deadly weapons. They uncurse Berserk Blades if you're an idiot and accidentally equip one when you're not supposed to. And they also uncurse a couple of other things, like Deadly Armor, Dark Mirror, and a few other accessories that you can accidentally equip to yourself and not intend on it and then be stuck with them. Because we found one, we're really in hog heaven, because now I can unequip the Deadly Rod I gave to Artie at the very end, and I can give it to Salon, and I can have Artie do some interesting combat depending on what my options are later. It just opens up a lot of doors. We got one more floor of green cores before I start praying for safety. I'm going to try to look for as much XP as I can, because the more XP you have, the more durable you are, and the more durable you are, the less you die. Salon's probably going to die anyway, so I'm really not being too careful about her. But everybody else, in particular Artie and Decker, I'm trying to be very cautious about.
So it looks like you're getting a lot of the pieces of the puzzle. What would you say if you're doing marathon style, where you are, being very methodical with your looting? What percentage of your runs get to the jelly, and then what percentage of them actually get to finish off the jelly?
Probably about 15% of runs make it to the jelly, and about 5% of those runs actually have the stuff to kill the jelly. It's entirely possible to go through a perfect run in the cave, get there in record time, and just not have the stuff to kill it. Even if you lack a Decker Blade, you can still get the kill. You just need to be a little bit more creative with your inventory, and if you get a couple of things like 2 Myth Blades, or just some very high damage output weapons, like 1 Decker Blade, and then a few 3Xs, like the Lizard Blow I was describing earlier, you can still get the kill even if you don't have the Dream setup. Basically, don't plan for it, but in this setup so far, I am feeling pretty good about my setup. I've got the Decker Blade, which for Decker is just a big deal. I do have the glorious Deadly Rod, which is a huge boon for either Salon or Artie. Nikos has the Mist Rapier, which is a nice bulky 3x damage weapon for him. having that power is a nice stock option for him. I have Zap, which is the most powerful spell that I can get my hands on. I got a Blaze Sword, which actually, this is an interesting weapon. This weapon is Salon exclusive, and it's one of those blue chest weapons I was talking about. Blue chest weapons have pretty much the highest attack power in the cave, and if you find one of those rocks, like I was describing, either the Cancer Rock or the Hydora Rock, you're almost set, because you don't have to worry about being stuck in a situation where you're... Let's see... where you have to deal with combat, because you can just have them equip one of those multi-hit moves and then get very, very powerful damage potential out of them. Let's see what I can do here. If things go really far south, we could have an interesting glitch occur, but I'm not going to prey on it. Because of the position of that ninja, I may be stuck into a situation where I have to fight it on the stairs. In fact, I think I will. Oh, no, I don't. If you die on the stairs, the way the game works is that it doesn't let you actually die and stay dead. You kind of revive yourself, which is weird. If you die on the stairs, you come back to life, and you actually have the ability to continue on the cave even though you're dead. You just lose all of your equipment, you lose all of your items, and you lose all of your pet levels and experience and everything. So it can be kind of sticky. I like to call that zombie percent, because you just get to keep going even though you've died, and restart and see what you can figure out. It doesn't always work, but sometimes it's quirky just to give yourself a neat little fun element of survival and challenge. What we're fighting here are called Brinz Lizards. They're weak to fire. They're decently powerful. They're not going to shred us or anything. We should be able to kill it pretty easily. Ooh, like getting a beefy crit like that. They drop what's called a Twist Jewel, and Twist Jewels are the accessory in the cave that gives you the highest amount of speed. The more agility you have, the faster you go in combat. It doesn't affect your ability to dodge, because this game simply lacks dodging, but it does sometimes allow you to not, have your entire turn before the enemy gets their turn. And the more opportunities for that mean better chances for you using your deadly weapon to one-shot something that would otherwise kill you because it went first. We'll be looking out for a couple of those guys later on as we progress, specifically the enemies called Archfiends are notorious for just ending runs instantly. So if we can outspeed Archfiends, then we're going to really be happy, especially with Artie being the fastest character, and therefore allowing us to do so the most reliably. I pretty much would want as many as possible, and in the context of a perfect run, we're bringing Guy instead of Salon, and Decker with a Twist Jewel can outspeed Guy and get his Decker Blade Fatal Blow off first, which means he kills or damages the jelly with his big move before Guy whittles him down with a 3x or some other attack that might otherwise not be as effective. Oops.
And I'm guessing we are out of range of either the ninjas or the assassins, whichever one you were really running from on the previous floor.
Yeah, fortunately we're past them now. I just kind of made a little mistake there and suffered because of it, but it's not too awful, because I should be able to just recover my way back a bit. I do not have very many options for healing. I've got a lot of revival items, but I don't have much beyond that. I have one heal spell called Poison, which is ironically the spell that cures poison. It's not looking very good. So unless I find a spell like Champion or Strong very soon, I may be stuck. Just being unable to continue. I've never made it to the... Sorry, I've made it one time to the jelly without healing items. It was a 4.5-hour run. I couldn't kill it because I couldn't do what's called IP grind and load my abilities up to actually use my big killing moves for the cool stuff that I actually had. So we really do want to find ourselves some kind of healing spell. And the sooner the better. One thing that we can rely on in a pinch is some of the armors that we can find. Revive armor has a little bit of a convenience. Other things like ghost clothes, crystal robes, those have IP abilities that do give you the ability to, say, like, restore party members' health by 50% or something. And I may end up relying on those to heal. They consume precious IP, but if it helps you survive, then, I mean, the trade-off is obvious. So I'm going to pray that I don't need to use those. I do have the equipment that allows me to use those things. I just don't want to have to rely on those. And grinding up IP means you have to get beat up, and getting beat up means you need to be able to restore HP in order to continue getting beat up. 1 full bar of HP in terms of damage does not equal 1 full bar of IP in terms of, well, IP. So we're going to have to be a little creative, especially with people like Salon, who can't necessarily take a beating and keep on eating. Decker can usually handle it with a couple of high potions, just because he is so tanky, and some of the enemies later on really just don't threaten him all that much outside of, from their one-shotting abilities or their multi-turn high-power attacks. The inconvenience of having Salon is that she is the second squishiest person that the game pretty much has to offer. And Tia, being the most squishy waifu of the bunch, the differences between them are almost negligible when enemies deal, twice their HP worth of damage in a single round of combat anyway. These drunken guys that run around, they're pretty scary because even though they kind of just meander about towards you, they don't charge you, but they kind of come towards you. They're very difficult to run through a room with because you can't necessarily predict where they're going to go. Sometimes they'll go up, sometimes they'll go right. Sometimes they'll go, whichever direction. Sometimes they run away from you, which is just downright weird because you don't know how to really deal with that from time to time. We don't see them after a couple more floors, so we're going to be happy to be out of their way. They're fast. They're very fast. They tend to outspeed you, and they do a fairly hefty chunk of damage. They don't have multi-hit attacks, but they do hurt a lot when they do manage to hit you, so you just kind of want to stay away from them. Someone parked their dinosaurs in the basement. I'll have fun explaining that one. And yes, there are a variety of dinosaurs in this basement, not just those T-Rexes, but some others. There's dragons down here. There are boats in the basement. Someone illegally parked their boat in the floor 72 range, which I can't even begin to understand why. And as far as that goes, there are a couple of other enemies later on that we're going to see that don't make as much sense for, being in this place as you would think, but I mean, they just got to scale up enemies however they can. So teleporters like that are exploitable to some degree. Some will teleport when you're near them, some will teleport when you're not near them. Some will teleport all the time, and all of them walk around to some degree. This guy up here isn't a fiend. They're pretty scary. They have a really cool drop called an Evil Jewel, which boosts your attack power by a lot, more than any other accessory does in the game by triple. The catch is that they go twice per turn. They can really hurt, and again, without my sustainability, I can't even consider if I want to gamble on them, so I'm not going to worry too much about them. These Hades chariots, they are undead enemies. Undead enemies are immune to insta-death, which means the illustrious Deadly Rod that Artie is running around with, frantically killing lions and other endangered animals with, it just doesn't work. It flat out fails on them. So he can cast Zap on them, which is convenient. It is an alternative to being able to, not have anything else to do. Salon with the Deadly Rod would have to cast Fire Magic, which is still pretty effective, but less powerful in the long run. So we do try to, have Artie with it too, because he just has a few more options compared to other party members. We're getting close to the mid-50s. I want to check out this room for a chest, though, if I can.
Well, while you're trying to move that dinosaur, just want to remind chat that this is Speedrun Ragnarok, and we're proud to benefit Take This again this year. Take This reaches out to gaming companies to help them promote healthier and more productive work environments and ensure they have methods in place for helping employees who suffer from mental illness. If you'd like more information, please visit takethis.org.
So these are the illustrious Hydoras that I was talking about earlier. I'm actually going to change up my equipment here. The Flying Blow is important later on. The Freeze Sword that I have on is a very big deal. The Blaze Sword isn't as big of a deal, but it's helpful. I would equip the other Deadly Rod if I had another Curse Lifter, but I'm not going to chance it. And my Deadly Rod here is a big deal, but I'm going to switch to Line Fang here. The reason for this is because I really want the drop that these guys offer, and without ice magic, I'm a little actually I do have some ice magic, but without the good ice magic, I'm a little scared of actually taking these guys on. They drop the illustrious Hydora Rock, which is the 3x attack weapon or accessory, which lets you equip any beefy weapon like Salon's Blaze Sword and just get a whole lot out of the combat. Do I have? Killing enemies in combat before other enemies means that their item drops first, or has the chance to drop first. And in combat, you can only get one drop. So you'll notice I am killing the Hydoras here before I kill this Vine. If I get a Hydora Rock, that's splendid. If not, it's just because it didn't drop. It's not because the enemy didn't drop it, so to speak. But sometimes enemies will drop other things, and you don't want to be stuck in an opportunity where you just can't get the thing you want because you killed the wrong thing first. Hydoras are a little scary because these guys have the ability to hit your entire party in their single hit. Later on, Hydoras have the ability to attack your party multiple times. In some cases, they can attack 5. Ooh, we got one. In some cases, they can hit your party up to 8 times. Those enemies are called Orkies. We just stay away from them. Hydora hype, by the way.
I do think that's the first one of those I've ever seen, so yeah. I'm excited to see what it makes us.
It's a very big deal because I'm going to give it to RD right now. It boosts his agility by 20. Twist Jewels are better, but we do want more agility. The more the better in every single case. If we get around 165 agility, we outspeed the most threatening enemies in the cave, the Archfiends, and being able to one-shot those guys before they get a single round of combat is just so important. Salon can't even hope to. Tia can with a little bit of generous equipment, and RD can with a bit less generous equipment. We did get a couple of speed potions, and I may feed them. Ooh, Deadly Sword. I may feed them to Nikos, depending on the opportunity. I'm sorry, to Decker to see if he can outspeed Nikos, potentially. I'm probably not going to, but it's just an option. You saw I just got a Deadly Sword. You'd think, oh yeah, great. Now he has 3 options to use a Curse Lifter on, other than Salon and her Deadly Rod. Don't celebrate just yet. The game's translation actually gives you 2 different Deadly Swords. One is called a Lethal Sword, and it has a unique description. Let's see. The other is just, well, it's all right. The other is the cursed one that does what you want it to do. Unfortunately, the bad Deadly Sword is bad. It's almost useless. Oh, is that 2 Hydora Rocks? Holy mackerel. Dang, son.
Absolutely everything but a heal, huh?
Yeah, I wish I had the flip-flop and sustainability to deal with the cave that we're in.
Like you're giving a whole new meaning to Marathon Luck. This is astounding.
It says, yeah, I'm living off of potions. It's a pretty rare thing to not find a single heal in the cave. Let's see if I can get a 3rd Hydora Rock. The benefit to Hydora Rocks, you can never have too many Hydora Rocks. They give you speed, and speed is paramount. They also give you attack power, and if you have a beefy, bulky weapon, I mean, it can't hurt to have more power when you're punching the jelly with your big, beefy weapons. So, I mean, it never really hurts to have them. The Cancer Rocks, which give you the ability to hit twice, they don't give you those power boosts. It gives you a defense boost, but that's it. So, it's not as important in the long run to only have the Hydora Rock, just because you want the attack power, but you can't always be blessed with the opportunities for everything. Let's see. I'm a little nervous here because this Sly Fox is unavoidable. Actually, no, he might be avoidable. These guys cast Thunder Magic on you. Let's see. They can go twice per turn. They can really hurt. So I'm going to see if I can keep myself from dying here. Okay, I lucked out there. Sometimes their movement doesn't allow you to sidestep past them. Sometimes it does, because they like to hug walls and get stuck in corners. So we're approaching floors 58, 59, and 60. This is the final opportunity for cores coming up, and cores, as we've already discussed, are everything. Where blue cores were worth 2,000 experience, it's pretty nice. I'm sorry, red cores are worth 2,000 experience, blue cores are worth 11,000, green cores are worth 33,000, so as much as 3 blue cores. The no cores, which are coming up, have 55,000 experience. They give so much experience, but they actually do hit your entire party, so you do need to kind of look out for them when they do stick around. They give enough XP to max, well, 5 blues or 1 greens, so 1.5 greens. So you want to get them when you can. The enemies after cores that appear in the 60 range are the ones that I begin to play really cautiously around. Some of them can zip across maps and charge you from off screen, which can be really scary. Most of them attack multiple times per turn. Some of them can just outright kill your party in a single round. It's happened to me many times. You'll see the bushes here look a little different, this one compared to the one at the bottom. That's the infamous heal tile I was describing earlier. Heal tiles, of course, heal you without you having to use a consumable, so it sounds silly, but I'm sort of relying on that. Come on. This one just wants to die, I guess. Again, this is really unusual that I have to rely this much on healing items and healing tiles rather than everything else. These are the ones that will attack you 5 times per turn. Of course, I'm going to shred it because they only have about 700 hit points. I may pick up another Hydora Rock if I'm extremely lucky and end up getting into a round of combat with one of them that I just get a blessing from. Again, Hydora Rocks are the best overall accessory to find here. Oof. Other enemies that we're going to be looking out for coming up, and I want to say coming up, they're about 3 floors from now. They're floating eyeball thingies. They're a pain in the keister because, again, those are the ones that charge you from across the map. They stick around for 5 floors, whereas most enemies stick around for 3 floors. Golden golems, or gorems, as the game calls them as. They are scary because they can kind of charge at you, depending on if you're in their eyesight. They'll charge and jump like 2 tiles at you, which is really scary when they just jump at you. You can get back attacks on, but they can really, really hurt, so it just kind of depends on what your luck is. They have an attack called Golden Mist, which just will probably kill most of my party except for Decker. And enemy spells deal more damage when they're concentrated, so we don't want Decker to die because that means other people are taking more damage. So this is what I was talking about with being able to kind of lead enemies around. Based on how you move, you can trick enemies to standing behind a bush, and once you leave their aggro zone, some of them will stay aggro on you, some of them will just forget about their aggro. Let's see if we can get no core and complete the quartet of colors.
And a reminder, chat, with this hopefully big influx of XP coming up, you still have the opportunity to force Ellie to rotate his capsule monster. Currently, Gels is in the lead with $51, Blaze in second with $50, and Flash in third with $40. All the others currently tied at 0, but you can swap that out with a well-timed donation.
I do like how nobody's donated for what would really be considered to be a good capsule pet. Oh, man. The thing about the capsules is that I may not actually be able to get that one. Come on. Can you come up? Nah, I'm not going to be able to get that core after all. Looks like no cores for me. Those salamanders, those red dragons, they gently charge at you. They're just scary enough to warrant avoiding because they have an attack that can hit the whole party. They have 2 attacks that hit the whole party. They hit for pretty hefty damage. Again, without sustainability from a healing spell or a revival spell, I just don't want to push my luck. I'm doing pretty well considering all the stuff I found so far, and the last thing I want to do is shoot myself in the foot to get a bit of EXP by dying on the way. One little quirk about walking in through doors, you can see how you can see the enemy down below. I described how that can be beneficial when going... Oof, feed that sucker. How going through doors allows you to see certain enemies, and you can kind of deal with them in certain ways by not having to fight them or whatever. Whenever you walk through a door, the enemy gets a sort of free move. Like in that case now, the enemy's stuck, and you get a free move for one whole tile, which can be a big deal and giving you an opportunity to run through them. Also, if they're facing downward, another Decker Blade. Go on, chat. I'm not watching it, but live it up. If you see them facing downward, then you just get the free attack on them, and that's that. You don't have to worry about them moving. And then once you get an attack on an enemy, they actually don't move a second time, so it can be really helpful in you just being able to charge through. Blizzard is a good spell. We have the two best spells. Maxim doesn't have, or I'm sorry, Nikos doesn't have access to fire magic, so he can't use Firebird, which is the weakest of the elemental big spells. But he does have access to Thunder, which is the most powerful of the elemental spells. Zap is a pretty big deal. See, there's that one shot I was telling you about. Zap is the most powerful spell, and only Artie has access to it. The girls and ourselves, Nikos, have access to instant death magic, which is kind of cool. A little careful here. But the instant death magic is slow and takes time, and in the context of a speed run, you don't want to have to worry about it. For the next couple of floors, you notice I've been doing a little bit of zigzagging. The reason I zigzag is because the enemies that charge you off screen, the Warm Eyes, they're just so scary that you don't want to have to worry about them at all. And they only charge at you if you're walking horizontally in a straight line or just happen to fall into their aggro zone in said straight line. Beyond that, then there are the gold golems I was talking about, and there is a backup enemy which we're not really going to worry too much about. I described them earlier, called the Gorgons. They drop that Gorgon rock, which has that pinch attack that lets you consume a lot of IP to do a fractional portion of 1/8 in terms of damage to your enemy. It's helpful. It works if you don't have anything for people like Salon and Artie in the context of a speedrun, because they give decent experience. And when dropped, well, I mean, heck, it gives a little bit of a power boost as well. There are other options, but it is better than nothing. Once we get to 66, then we are pretty safe, just because for a little while there isn't anything too scary. The gold golems, I believe, are done at 68 or 69, and then there's a Warm Eye I was talking about. I'm gonna be a jerk here. And based on how enemies move, I know they charge 2 tiles per step towards you, so you can time your moves to trap them. And they only move 1 tile up and down, but they charge you horizontally, which, I really can't explain why they charge the way they do. So you just gotta be a little careful with your movement, and then you can trap them. But sometimes you gotta play a little different. A couple of the enemies around here will drop some really cool stuff. There's a weapon called the Old Sword, which you can actually use its fractional 1/6 damaging ability in tandem with the Cancer Rock, which lets you hit twice. It's a very powerful sword too, so it's actually not a bad backup to get. Oh boy. I may end up using a Deadly Rod here on Salon. I'm going to use the Deadly Rod on Salon. It's not what I wanted to do, but I'm going to pray for another Curse Lifter. So if we get another Curse Lifter, then we'll be really in hog heaven. What doing this means is I'm going to try to get one of those high Gorgon rocks I was talking about not wanting to get earlier. Like I said earlier, they're not too hard to get. But getting one means that if you're stuck with the Deadly Rod, you still have a way powerful thing that you can do. This Golden Mist attack is the attack I was describing earlier. It shreds and shreds and shreds. You saw I almost lost, well, gosh, how much of my party there? Survived by a thread. I'm going to try really hard to kill this thing. And considering I have 80% chances of connecting with my deadly rod, I don't have...
It's pretty cool that they preserve the enemies in a mob that you already killed when you escape from combat. So it's not like you go back in and all 3 of them are there again. That was a very nice kindness on the devs' part.
Yeah, it's one of the few nice things that the game's devs actually did. Something else I'm going to do here, just for insurance, because I really don't want to take a chance again, is I'm going to use Terror Balls. Just have a 50% chance to kill a target. That's the same as your Destroy spell. Oh boy. Wow. So my 2 80% failed and my 2 50% succeeded.
I think my heart skipped a beat there.
Hey, your heart, my gosh. The only option I have for survival at this point is Decker, so I'm going to use my last big potion to heal him up. Miracles heal you completely, but I'm not going to worry too much about it right now until at least I know what I'm dealing with. You have to be very careful when dealing with these guys because they charge at you 2 tiles at a time. If you mistime your steps, they'll double charge you. I have one other option here. There's something you can use called a smoke ball. Smoke ball is a guaranteed runaway. I'd like to save them for later on, but in a pinch like this, it's the only option you got. So I'm gonna kill hopefully 2 of them, and then I'm gonna smoke ball out of here, and then get 2 more shots to kill this other one. Plus, I believe Artie does outspeed, so if I try to run away, there's a chance that he may go first, but if I try to have Artie attack immediately, I may get the option for the kill shot with him and then not have to worry about it at all. This is a nasty, nasty hallway. Doing all this without heal spells is the biggest thing. If I had a revival spell, I'd be going pretty much gung-ho through them, because I could just revive my way through.
I was worried we were going to see a 4th one at the end of the hall, but...
It's happened before, let me tell you. I've had party rooms where there's like 6 of them in there, and they all charge you. Now those little red squids, they look pretty harmless enough. They typically come in groups of 4, and they're called either evil fish or... there's some other name that they go by, I can't even remember. I never fight these ones. But they're nasty, and they can hit your entire party with their basic attack, which is really difficult to deal with. The other thing, eventually they turn into Orkies, which are the multi-hit wonders. They hit you 8 times. They kill Salon in 1 hit almost all the time, so just throwing that little chunklet of news out there. Let's see if I can deal with this guy. For some reason, those wall huggers like to... Ooh, you'll get stuck there. Those wall huggers do like to just kind of hover around doorways and dance around them. So you did notice earlier on I was probably dancing around some frogs and things. That's just what they do, which is pretty cool. It makes them exploitable because you can time your movements to just get around them. There is a way that you can kind of run into them while they're running towards you, and then you can get around them by forcing them to move out of the way. It's something I don't like to mess with, because if you're even a little bit off, it's just going to kind of hit you in the face. And just throwing this out there, my last big run for RPG Valks had an end, I believe, at Gold Gorums, so it's nice to be able to pass them, which I think the next floor is past them, and I found the stairs, so I should have no problem surviving. Those dragons are pretty quick. And unfortunately for now, because I'm not made of speed yet for my entire party, there are still some enemies that outspeed us. Certain dragons, the green ones that we see wandering around the map, they're bad. Oof. We gotta look out for those guys now. We're about to enter what's called Teleporter Hell. This is where some really cool enemies exist. But they're cool in that they are neat in concept, not in terms of ever wanting to fight them. They don't move, when you're near them. I'm sorry, they don't run away when you're near them, so they're just very stressful to deal with. They can trap you in corners, and it can be very difficult to kind of get around them when you're in a narrow hallway dealing with them. On the flip side, when you're right up against them and you're near a doorway or something, you can kind of guide where they're going to move by just wandering just outside of their teleport zone, but just inside of their walk zone. So for here, for the next couple of floors, I'm just going to be doing pulse walking, which is just where I take a couple of steps and that's it until I identify that the whole room doesn't have any teleporters in it. Because it's very possible they teleport right on top of you or right in front of you. And depending on where you're standing or which direction you're facing, that's a game over. Their enemies, the specific enemies are called Leech. And not to be confused with Lich, which I guess is not a very nice word. I don't know. Notice the devs love their translation quirks. So yeah, leeches, they drop old swords like I was talking about earlier. In an absolute pinch in a marathon, if I didn't have anything and I had some good sustainability, I might consider killing one or two. There's just no point in doing it now, though. Once I pass leeches at 71, I get to 72, and 72 is where those Gorgons start to appear. They're not undead demon monsters. They are big minotaurs with axes, and they're very manageable. They drop those Gorgon rocks, which I'm probably going to need, or going to just really want one of. And I may farm some of them for EXP, so it just depends on how things are looking.
So just to get chat caught up again, at this point, the main items you'd like to see are a good healing spell.
And any healing spell.
Yeah, any healing spell. And then
hey, look, a boat.
Who left their boat here?
Yeah, fun fact, anytime you attack a boat from the back, it's a guaranteed back attack on a boat. There's a leech, just so you know. Not a lich, but a leech. They don't move, so it's funny when they park in front of doorways. But yeah,
and so any heal, an extra curse lifter so you can uncurse Ceylon, or some of those Gorgon eyes so she has an attack that'll actually do something at the jelly. Does that sum it up pretty accurately?
Yeah, that is pretty much right on the money. Now I've found a gold eye. Gold eyes are very good items just because they give you a lot of power. They don't give you the agility that you might want, but they give you just a lot of power, a lot of defense. So they're helpful to have a bunch of. I may just heal myself up now because I'm swimming in miracles right now. It's entirely possible. I've gone through runs where I found like 3 or 4 miracles. No regains, but a bunch of healing spells. So you never know what the game's going to give you. Let's see. I'll find out where the stairs are. I didn't see them, and it's possible that they spawned underneath someone. Ah, there they are.
Underneath someone's.
If you get into a back attack with one of these dragons or something, then after you run away from combat, you will just immediately load through the stairs. So it's helpful to try to get the back attack and just do it on the stairs if you can, because it just gives you the opportunity to, well, do a quick runaway. One icky thing coming up, though, is that I'm running out of enemies to train off of. Remember me describing Salon as being a little squishier? Enemies have a tendency to one-shot her. I'm going to look around here. When you get one shot, you can't maintain your IP, and when you can't maintain your IP, there's limited options for what you can do versus the jelly. So one thing I do try to take advantage of in this upcoming area where I'm finding Gorgons for the next 14 floors, actually, is I do try and let the lesser enemies that spawn with them beat up on Salon a little bit. They're not super threatening, and it's some kind of EXP that she can get as well as IP, so if we can take advantage of it, awesome. Not counting my chickens before they hatch, but you never know what kind of deals you have to try to farm IP through. So you take what you can get in this game is pretty much what I'm saying. These are not the high doors that we've known to come and love that give us our daily bread and a ton of specialized loot. They are the Orkies I was talking about, and if we get into a side attack with them, it's entirely possible we'll lose game over. They have about 2,400 HP, I think, and they are very good at assassinating your entire party because they hit 8 times. They don't necessarily target the same person, too, so even if Decker could survive 4 or 5 hits, they occasionally come in pairs, and they'll just beat up whoever they feel like it, leaving your entire party beaten, battered, and bruised. And I haven't had too many runs into them just because you can see how kind of exploitable their movement is. Annoying, but exploitable. They move every 3 turns or 3 actions, so that's why you saw me kind of wandering around swiping my sword once or twice. Again, everything could be circumvented if I had some sustainability, but I just don't have it. These are our first Gorgons that I was talking about. Again, not to be confused with Gorgans, which are like that rock that we picked up a few minutes ago. They're not super scary, again, because they only have single target hits, even though they do hit like trucks. But their movement is entirely exploitable. You can Deadly Rod them like this. They give about almost the blue core's EXP worth per kill, and that's not a bad amount.
Oh, Ellie, stream has gone down, by the way, if you want to hold it for a second until they let us know you're back up.
Oh, yeah. Was it my fault, or?
No, because the RTMP is going great. That's what I'm watching off of. Otherwise, I would have told you sooner.
Okay. I never posted a pause button.
And Tara has said it's back up, so you should be good to keep going, Ellie.
Okay. And because I'm playing on an unfamiliar computer in an unfamiliar location due to technical difficulties that required me standing by, I don't have a pause button set up on this split. So I apologize for the maybe 20 seconds we may have just lost. Interesting happening.
And it may not even be issues with our restream. It could just be issues with Twitch in general with that storm up in the Northeast.
Entirely possible. Well, as long as you guys can hear me and or see me, then I'm going to do the best I can to continue to entertain. The enemies that these... Okay.
We just received word from our restreamer in our little monitoring headsets that everything's fine on their end and everything's fine on the RTMP's end. So whatever issues you're having, chat, it does seem to be an issue with Twitch. We do apologize for that. But if you can hear Ellie, we'll do our best to give you the play-by-play in the meantime.
You haven't missed much so far. All you've missed so far is me killing genies. The nice thing about these floors is that we're finding enemies called Gorgons, which gives us that rock. But the bad thing is that we find enemies called genies, which are just a huge pain in the butt. They have the ability to cast spells that hit everybody. They can steal your MP, which is one of only a couple of enemies that do so. We're gonna take a lunch break, guys, really quick. I figure with all this lag, it's a good time for a lunch break. So hope you don't mind.
Oh, you know that you're just tempting them into doing a quick donation to flip your capsule monster. You know that, right?
Well, I understand that. I'm willing to take my chances. I need to clear my inventory because it's to the point now where if I open more chests, I don't have enough room in my inventory to hold what it is that I pick up. So this is an opportunity for me to just clear things down a bit.
Well, quick reminder for chat while Ellie is going through and feeding Fumi. We do have a couple of incentives that are set to close at the start of the Zelda 1 randomizer run. Well, actually 4-way race coming up immediately following this run. You can name the file name, up to 8 characters, and the top 4 will be taken. And you can also choose whether our Intrepid Racers will be doing a dungeon shuffle or a full map shuffle, which is currently in the lead, $26 to $0. So if you want to mix that up, you're running out of time to do so.
Well, speaking of mixing up, I'm mixing up my marshmallows. I decided I wanted blue marshmallows, but I'm going to change things up and probably go for some purple marshmallows too, or maybe just some gray marshmallows, because I mean, it's really tough to pick a favorite color, you know? I can't just pick what I like. There's options. So I'm doing what's possibly the most annoying thing in the game, which is lunchtime. What this involves doing is feeding your capsule monster your junk to, 1, clear out your inventory, and 2, feed it so that way it can evolve. Evolved capsule monsters do more damage. They have more moves, more things that it can do. It's pretty cool. I like the capsule monster system because it's just an AI pet that does what they want to do. The negative is that because I can't pick the moves, I have to hope that what my thing evolves into decides to be helpful if it so chooses, and they more often than not choose to not be helpful. So we're gonna see if we can get Fumi up to Form 4. Because I'm doing this, I would kind of appreciate if folks decided to cooperate with the rolling incentive and not donate towards other pets. But I'm not going to shoot anybody in the foot or anything if this ends up happening. Capsule monsters have 5 forms. Their forms go from 1, which they start off as, to Form 2, which is the second form that we just at, to the 3rd form and the 4th form, which I'm going towards right now. The forms themselves aren't anything special for most of them, but some of them have some cool attacks that let you do neat things, like the 3rd form of Zeppy the fish has a convenient thing that allows you to it buffs your party. It buffs your party's attack power, so it can be very helpful. Other things that are cool, Form 3 of Darby and Form 4 of Darby have the ability to just outright kill things instantly with their combat skills, so it's sometimes really exciting to just randomly get a one-hit kill. The way feeding works is everything in this game is based off of money, so the more expensive stuff that you feed, the more happy your pet will become after they eat whatever it is that they eat. So you kind of do need to have an understanding of what the stuff is worth, which comes with practice, and the more you understand this, the happier your pets become, and the faster they evolve.
As far as happy pets, you might want to slow down on that feeding frenzy there, Ellie. I have a donation to read and a little bad news for you.
No.
We have, we actually have a couple of donations here. We have $5 from Scala Kitty. Inven, please make sure that Kat can remain united with her husbando, Nikos. Please and thank. And we also have $2 from You Requested It, saying, as per your request. And so that means we now have Blaze actually in the lead by $1 over Gels, as things currently stand.
Dang. All right, well, I'll swap after this battle. If you have any sense of mercy, I got Gorgon Rock, nice. If you have any sense of mercy and appreciation for me as a runner already going through this cave with no heals, you will show some mercy and bid me back Fumi. Although Blaze 1 may end up being more useful, but we'll end up seeing what ends up happening. They're both going to contribute. There are some capsule monsters that can just outright defend and do nothing in combat, and I don't want to be stuck with one of them. Sully is one of them. He's great for speedruns because he's slow, and sometimes in combat he just won't go, and therefore not slowing you down. But you have to deal with no help. Other ones like Gusto are useless because they have combat potential, but not very much, and they don't really do anything with their attacks when they do attack, and they always go first, which slows you down in your run. It's a mess. But with Fumi 3, he's decent. I recently did a run that took me to my my final form of Fumi. Each pet has a final form called their M form, which you have to feed them a very specific item in a very specific stage of their evolution in order to unlock. Oh boy, got some trouble here, folks. But once you get that pet stage to what they need to be, they get some pretty cool attacks, all things considered. So you kind of do want to get your 4th form pets up to M form if possible. We dodged a bullet here. These are ice rogs. I'm not sure what rog was supposed to translate to, but they're rogs. They're not super scary. They tend to be 4 deadly rods. They tend to be paired with archfiends, which again I've already illustrated are just the most horrifying, terrifying thing you'll ever see in the cave, because you can't back attack them and they double you for a hilarious amount of damage. Ice Rogs can hurt, and they can sometimes be okay to train EXP off of. They do have a one-shot kill spell, which is why I'm not, but if I don't have other alternatives, I am going to utilize them. Unfortunately, with my luck, they tend not to be Ice Rogs, so I'm going to just try my best to get there, get to the stairs, and fight as few of that particular map sprite as possible. We did just see one in this hallway, which is icky. And of course, that's where the stairs are.
Do you have time for a couple more donations and some good news?
Yeah, I didn't switch to Blaze. I apologize, but I'm just running away, so you're not missing anything.
Well, first of all, we do have a $30 donation from Meg Macattack saying, don't forget to think about Tony. And that yes, that goes to the Zelda 1 randomizer file name. But the good news for you is you have a couple of $2 donations. One from Fumi Punch, and the comment just says Fumi Punch. And one from me that just says Gels. I felt bad for you. I had to get Gels back in the lead. So
we're sticking with Nikos, or are we taking Nikos?
Whichever one. Well, I get them confused. Gels is currently in the lead with $57. Whichever one Gels is, I believe that's
Okay.
Fumi, right? Yeah. Okay.
That's right.
Okay. And I think we got another anonymous $2 donation with no comment going towards the exact same thing.
All
And
right.
Scala's donation earlier was for one of the Zelda 1 rando file names to be Nikos. So we'll be getting those updated in just a second.
Question about the file names in Zelda 1. Are they able to be caps? I actually haven't played Zelda 1 in a very long time, so I don't recall.
I don't have the specifics on that, but if anyone in chat can answer, that would be great.
I would like, if anyone does happen to donate and says, oh, go to Donator's Runner's Choice or whatever, I'd like it to go to that, but all caps, Nikos. But of course, if it is mandatory, then fine. I just really feel like because I cannot shout, yeah, then I will have to take advantage of just going all cap on Nikos.
Okay, it is all caps, and that is what was submitted, and I'll make sure to get both of these inputted in all caps, so.
Okay. So I've got the fixins. I must have turned that one off. I got the fixins for a very mighty run right now. Again, my IP gauges are a bit low. I just had 2 people die, which is, I'm sorry, 3 people die, which is extremely inconvenient. I almost had a complete wipe, but I really lucked out there. I'm going to spend a little bit of time healing up here just from time to time, because if I do find an HP tile, I want to be able to step on it. And I also want to divvy out enemy punishment if they decide to show mercy and punch me instead of casting spells. Also, because enemy spell diversity in terms of their targeting means that if they cast a spell that would hit multiple people, it splits up the damage. I do want more people alive. That way Decker can stay alive more reliably. It's happened a couple of times to me before where a party member being simply alive was enough to help Decker survive, because it just reduced the damage of their big bad spells by just enough for me to survive with like 3 or 4 HP. You notice I'm not getting that chest. Once you aggro an Archfiend or an Archfiend map sprite, they stick with you for the entirety of your time as you're running around. That means if you walk into a different room, they continue to follow you. They can trap you into rooms, which can be horrifying because you just have no way of getting past them since they trap you in the doorway. So you just got to be very careful when deciding what it is you want, and if you really think that that particular chest is worth the grab. Can you do me a favor?
Mm-hmm.
Can you remind us what it is that Take This is? Because I feel like if anyone new is hopping in with hype, they may be more excited about the run when the excitement should really be towards what the charity event's for.
Oh, of course. Well, you are watching Speedrun Ragnarok, proud to benefit Take This, a mental health nonprofit whose main mission is to inform the gaming community about mental health issues, provide education on different disorders and prevention techniques, and reduce the overall stigma around mental illness. You can find out more at takethis.org. And also, I have another donation for you, Ellie.
Okay.
Sorry.
It must be a good one. Let's hear it.
We have $20 from Random Hughes saying, I feel like watching some suffering. Blaze has recaptured the lead at $72. Gels is 15 behind at this point.
Oh man, if you want to see some powerful, potent marshmallows, well, you're missing out on that opportunity. Blaze is a good dog, but right now, considering how high fed up little Fumi Pile is, well, it's a mixed bag. I'll just leave it at that. So we're entering the end floors of the cave. When you get into the 80s, into the 90s specifically, the enemy density really just drops in terms of variety. I want to say floor 87 is where the greatest enemy variety just decreases to a grinding halt. There's 4 enemies that can spawn, 3 of which share the same map sprite, which I think is pretty great. The enemies are what are referred to as the beloved metallic dragons. Metallic dragons come in 3 varieties. There's copper, silver, and gold. Each one is progressively stronger. Coppers aren't even considered dragons by the game's code, which is kind of silly. That means dragon effective weaponry doesn't work on them. I couldn't even begin to explain that one. They can only go 1 time per turn, but they have a move that is pretty good at grinding IP off of called Cinder Blast. It hits everyone, but at my current level, it probably wouldn't result in my death, which is 33. Most of my runs tend to have myself to the jelly by about the low 30s, so the fact that I'm 33 now means I'm feeling pretty good. Salon might still have a little hard time getting the XP, but probably not going to be... I might be able to make something work. The other enemies, unless they punch, which are unlikely, they're just going to flat out kill her, so I don't have too many options for her. I'd rather grind EX or grind IP off of them because there can only be 2 of them per round. They can't steal my MP. They're just a much more manageable enemy type compared to other things that we can find. I'm going to punch these Gorgons really quick because I do want a little bit of IP before I get there if I can help it. And while they do things like that, total destruction, which really hurt, they don't usually kill me when I'm this prepped up, at least Artie and Nikos. Certain things require certain amounts of IP, and there are certain thresholds I want to get. Salon doesn't actually need very much. If I take off her Deadly Rod and let her with an uncursed Deadly Rod use her special attack, it only takes 1/3 of the IP meter for her to use the percentage-based attack, and honestly, I only want to use one of them. Between that and Fatal Blow from Decker Blade, I'm doing the majority of the damage for my percentage-based attacks. After that, I'm going to want to set up my finishers, which come from my multi-hit moves, my high-powered spells, my Hydora Rock, or my 3x weapons like the Lizard Blow. I did find the Mist Rapiers earlier, Silva Rapiers. Ideally, what I'm going to do is stick with the Hydora Rock and something big and beefy for Nikos, so that way he can just give it a really big Falcon Punch to the head for the jelly and do hopefully up around words of 800 or so damage, which could be really helpful. Between the 2 Spell Slingers in the back row, Artie and Salon doing their thing, they're going to contribute about 300 to 400 damage per cast, which is likely going to be 2 casts for each of them. And then compounded with Decker striking it from the back row, and then doing his massive hit, I'm praying that I'm going to come close to the numbers I need to deal with. It is possible to get RNG screwed, obviously because of damage ranges, and there have been what have been considered ideal runs for me that fell single-digit points short of a kill because of some unfortunate circumstance. I tend to measure my fatal blows and my other big percentage-based hits after I do my streams, and I had one fatal blow do 0.2% of its potential damage, which was, well, horrible. So, things like that can really mess with the run. On the plus side, though, for some other hits, as long as we keep things consistently average, Lizard Blow, nice, we don't have too much to worry about. There are some weapons like the Lizard Blow, which are the built-in 3x weapons that let you equip an accessory for some high-powered damage boosting, but there are some other weapons that are just flat-out better. Those better weapons include Zerko weapons, which when paired with a Hydora Rock do a beefy amount of numbers. Other things include the blue chest weapons. We found a Blaze sword for Salon. There are some others that are pretty exciting other than the Gades blade. There are some that are user specific, like a water spear or dragon spear, snow sword, and a few others. And we could hope for one of them. If I found one for Nikos, then I would be happy to give that to him along with the Hydora Rock, because it'd just be a little bit of an additional damage boost since they're a bit more powerful and they can take advantage of the Hydora Rock's built-in power boost of 20 points. Enemy damage in this game is basically calculated as their defense divided by, or your attack power minus their defense divided by 2. Jelly has, I believe, 2 points of defense, so you don't need to worry all that much about not having enough oomph to deal damage to the Jelly. Fortunately, also his magical resistance is garbage, so enemy magical damage is reduced by a factor of 4, and the his magic resistance is 4, so it's just minus 1 point of potential damage, and fortunately I haven't ever lost a run by 1 single point of damage.
Well, while we're working on these last few floors, I see we did just receive a raid, so just a reminder that you are watching Speedrun Ragnarok. Proud to benefit Take This again this year, and if you want to support Take This and get some sweet Speedrun Ragnarok swag, you can order official shirts, hoodies, exclamation point merch in chat. We'll give you the links to our listings on Teespring.
There is some pretty cool and exciting stuff too. I want to say, as a fan of some of the RPG Valks, there are some emotes which you can get designed by people like Shala Kitty and other really rad people. I personally think those are some of the highlights because, well, it's always awesome to have custom emotes for your streaming convenience. So if you have the opportunity, do consider that as something worth bidding for as well.
And we do have a few bid wars ongoing right now. You can still force Ellie to swap out his capsule monster, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind if you flipped it back over to Gels for the last part of the run. And we do still have 2 more file names that just free for the taking in Zelda 1 Randomizer. You bid, you name that file name. And if you want to flip it from full map shuffle to dungeon shuffle, that's currently at a 26-0 lead. So plenty of options for bid wars that'll be closing soon.
So we're about to see a drop in enemies. Those big blue genies, they're pretty much gone now. The only enemies that we see left on the map are the exploitable dragons and those green-robed little weirdos. Those are called Dark Summoners. We've seen 1 round of them where they cast Bolt on us, I think, a couple of times earlier on. But they weren't overall threatening. They were annoying, but they weren't, like, impossible to deal with. The convenience behind them... Run away from that. I'm sorry, the inconvenience behind them is that they just outright shred you, because they can go many times per turn. They can cast spells that deal upwards of 1/8 of your HP bar's worth of damage. They just hurt, and they're always faster than you, no matter what. So you're just going to die when you hit them. You just saw in the battle there, I had the silver and gold dragon. There may be very well a fight that I have to get into that's forced, where I may not be able to deal with the dragons, but those are the 2 scarier ones, because the silvers can have up to 2 actions per turn, and they have an attack that hits the entire party very, very hard. The gold dragons can go even faster than them. They get 3 actions per turn. They can buff themselves and then follow up with an attack that hits you very, very hard, and it's rare that even Decker survives it. And with his massive HP pool, it is just unfortunate when you end up dying to that. I'm looking for a couple of coppers like this because it gives me an opportunity to try to bulk up a little bit in my my EXP to buff up my damage output a little bit, but I'm also going to try to gain a little bit of IP here. I'm casting Courage, which raises my defense some. Unfortunately, Artie is faster, so I'm going to do some things here where I just hit a quick battle with it and then run away. And as long as I get opportunities where he maybe just punches me or something, I have enough in terms of revival items to heal with. I'm not terribly worried about having to challenge myself too much for EXP. If I get one good hit on Artie, then I'm going to be feeling really good about where I'm at in terms of my EXP, because I can have him be a backup for either 3x damage dealing or a couple of other options. Now, there have been rare opportunities where he does his big attack Cinder Blast twice in a row. That stinks, but usually in those situations I can still have Decker survive and just try again. I'm bulking up my defense entirely because of Salon, and you'll notice that in a few cases here I was splitting too fast. I was splitting up my actions kind of between everybody. If I target everybody with a spell that buffs myself in some way, I actually get the benefit of still being able to have the full perk of whatever that buff would be on everyone. So like if I get a spell called Trick, which boosts my attack power, it buffs everybody's attack by the same amount. Oof. That's what I was worried about. But we're okay still. Like I said, we're swimming in miracles. It killed Salon by exactly the amount that she had in terms of health. We'll give her a life potion, see if that makes a difference. And because I'm nearing the end of the cave, it becomes more and more frequent that you end up fighting dragons that just outright slaughter you. So you definitely want to have, whatever bulks of IP you can now, because the frequency of coppers and golds, the frequency of silvers and golds does jump up a bit, and you can't grind IP off of them. Sometimes off of the Dark Summoners, if you get luck into a battle with just one of them, you don't have to worry. But unfortunately, this is a video game, and video game luck means RNGesus, and I'm sure we all know how kind RNGesus tends to be. So if you have any more donations, feel free to roll them off while I'm just sitting here grinding like a moron.
Well, we don't have new donations, but I will reiterate that the bid war for Zelda 1 randomizer file names will be closing off as soon as Ellie enters the big old jelly fight. So don't try to hold it out and snipe. You need to get those bids in sooner rather than later if you want to have lay claim to one of those file names. Incidentally, Ellie, would you like to establish an official cutoff point for the capsule monster rotation as well? People can still be kind to you if they want, or they could be even ruder, but what floor would you like to go ahead and close that out at?
When we get to the final floor, which is the floor the jelly is on, I will like to cut off donations at that point. That's pretty much the point in which no more combat can happen. Nothing else really game-changing is going to come up, and by that point, I think it's fair to say that whatever I'm stuck with is what I'm stuck with. That will enter the final few minutes of the run, and there really isn't going to be too much else for us to worry about doing. So sticking me with whoever I'm stuck with there is fine. You've really got about maybe 7 minutes to consider showing me some additional mercy if you feel like it. But again, it's not required. You can leave me with Blaze the dog, and I'll survive. Whew.
I mean, Blaze is a very good boy, after all.
That life potion saved her. Alright, so again, as a reminder, I'm doing this with almost nothing in terms of healing. I'm doing this with almost nothing in terms of, well, power in general. And I've managed to acquire the majority of the resources. I'm in the home stretch, and I am hoping for a couple other things. A heal spell, again, would be nice. And honestly, if I had a heal spell, I'd just charge the jelly at this point right now. A curse lifter would be cool. a cursed bow is the opposite of a curse lifter. It's a bow that you actually get in the main game for RD exclusively, that when uncursed, it turns into one of the only other weapons in the game with the user's name in it, called RD's bow, which is the most powerful multi-hitting target. Like, it hits everyone at once. It's useless in the context of this run because we just aren't doing things that require us to have RD attack. His attack power is too low. He's more useful casting spells or instantly killing stuff with the deadly rod. So unfortunately, cursed bow is food. I may end up feeding that towards whoever we get as far as our pet goes by the final moments of the run. But other than that, it's not doing a whole lot for me. So yes, a curse lifter, a heal spell for some insurance, and that's pretty much all I could really look out for at this point. There's a weapon called a Myth Blade, which is pretty neat, and I'd be happy to see that. It has an IP ability that does 25% of your target's damage, or target's current HP in terms of damage, kind of like the Decker Blade, only a quarter instead of half. I would actually use it for the sheer attack power because it is the single most powerful weapon that can be found in a red chest, and is the tied for the most powerful sword or most powerful weapon in the cave. Using that with the Hydor Rock for a triple attack from Nikos would be pretty awesome. It's just, you can't really beat that. It's just so powerful. But I'm not crying for it. Now, Valor. Let it be known, folks, that I finally have a healing spell. This one revives a user to 2,000 HP, which you can't top 999, which is funny. And it can multi-target heal everyone in the party for 500 damage. In the 90s, I finally have my heal spell.
I was going to say, what floor are you on? 92 at this point? 93?
Yep, and I'm pretty sure it's 93 right now. Anyone in chat who happens to have noticed, I've kind of lost track. At this point, I stopped thinking about what floor I'm on, and I just worry about surviving. Again, I'm still going to look around for a Curse Lifter, but I do have a Gorgon Rock, which I can give to someone that has a Cursed Deadly Rod if I need, their pinch of a percentage-based attack. I would like the flexibility. I like having options, but we'll take what we can get. So we're pretty much done leveling. If I have to fight a dragon, I will, but I'm going to avoid combat as much as possible from here on, in case it hasn't been evident already. I'm going to avoid showing myself in rooms that have any of those little green teleporting roby dudes, the dark summoners. Not summoners, summoners. I'm taking apostrophe after the M. S-U-M-N-E-R. It's pretty cool how they're renamed in this to conserve on enemy space. And also for good behavior, I am going to hit stairs as frequently as I can from the bottom up to prevent myself from getting back attacked. I slipped up there a moment ago, but it's just standard practice at this point to ensure survival. These last few floors, when you have the stuff you need, go incredibly fast. There are points in which I've done these last 10 floors from 91 to the final floor in under 3 minutes. By then, you are assumed to have all your stuff. You're just charging the jelly and going for your PB or your world record or wherever you feel like calling yourself as a runner for that point.
So remind me again, how early in this seed did we find the Decker Blade?
Well, I thought it was around the 40s or so.
Okay.
30s or 40s, and it appears at floor 15 at the earliest.
I just like measuring the distance between when you got the Decker Blade and when you got any source of magical healing at all. Just the sheer disparity in those two is mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, I would have much rather had it the other way, where I get the floor 99 Decker Blade for hype, and I get a heal spell early on. I would have done a lot more for safety and speed if I had Valor early on. It costs the most MP out of any spell, but I mean, come on, it's a heal spell. Because miracles give you your full HP back every time you use one, it's very useful to just chug a miracle, cast Valor, then chug a miracle to heal yourself back. I gotta find a way into that door. That's gonna be a little tricky. There could be a door down. Actually, there is a door down there.
Oh,
these guys are coppers. I'm not too scared, but if even one of them is a gold dragon, it could be a run end. So we're not out of the water yet, despite being so close. to both the 2-hour mark, which I predicted or estimated, and also just the the final location of the stairs. Period. All right, we got our gimme. So we'll open up a few more chests for kicks. Any change on the capsule monster, by the way, because that is going to be ending in just about probably a minute and a half or so. Ooh, sizzle sword.
No new bids coming in on it. So, chat, last chance. We are closing that when Ellie enters the jelly floor. That's floor 100. So, if you want to change it up, and now
well, it's actually floor 99, just for clarity.
Oh, apologies.
The first floor of the cave where you walk in and you're like, hey, welcome to the cave. That's considered the first floor of the 100 floors. So it really doesn't count. I mean, sometimes menuing in there can be a little difficult, but you're not missing out on a whole lot. There's one thing I'm going to share. The red chests can contain actual garbage too, where you may have become accustomed to seeing me pick up loot, things that are like potions, antidotes, the like. You can actually find actual hunks of garbage. Those are called iris treasures. They have iris jewel, iris sword, whatever it was that has iris in the name. If you find an iris treasure, you can't equip it, even though it's got a weapon or armor or accessory element thing typed in its name. You can't drop it. You cannot feed it to your pet. They are simply a collectible item exclusive to the Ancient Cave alone. There are 10 of them in total. One you get for defeating the jelly, and then the others are... they're all found throughout the cave. You can find at max 1 per floor, and the collector's dream is to collect all 9, plus the 1 for beating the jelly at the end. If you happen to find them, you can Providence out and deposit them in the bar or tavern in which you picked up your party in the first place. And when you do that, then you just kind of store your collection. Ideally, after you've finished depositing everything, then you've 100%ed the game in a true 100% capacity. It's not measured, and when I say that, there is a portion of the game and end-game credits that actually does tell you, like, if you got all the chests in the game, how many times you ran away from combat, that sort of thing. The Irish treasures are just there. They're in the bottom on the bar. It says congratulations. It's kind of like completing the Pokédex, where, I mean, yay, you did it, but you're not getting anything else out of it. So as soon as I go down these stairs, that is going to be the cutoff for the capsule monster. I'm finding some neat things still here at the last minute, little insurance. So I'm going to keep looking around for about another 45 seconds or so.
I dare say chat has turned against you. And chat, if you want to give him a base level Darby, Gusto, Sully, or Zeppy.
Oh, I better run away then. Hold on a second.
$73 is the amount you're looking for.
All right, we'll give cutoff in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, that's my capsule. Looks like it's Blaze.
No final ones. That bid war is closed.
All right, so I'm gonna have a couple of options here. I've got everyone's got enough IP to do what I want them to do. I actually managed to find a sizzle sword, which is a very powerful sword for Maxim. If I strongest it, auto-equips it, and if I give him the Hydora Rock, then it gives him a more powerful attack than if I were to take the Lizard Blow, which is the most powerful 3x weapon, and do it by about 50 or so damage. The Bolt Shield, only Decker can use, but it gives him a bit more attack. It's nifty, but doesn't break anything in terms of the game. The big insurance things that I'm worried about here are making sure, one, that I get the Decker Blade equipped. All 2 Decker Blades, right? There are some armors that boost up attack power to a small capacity, and in this stage of the game, every little bit matters from time to time, especially with people that are doing actual attacks. I'm going to have, I think, Artie take advantage of the Gorgon Rock, because he goes first, and I do want to use the fractional moves as quickly as possible. I also want Decker to be the other multi-attacker, so because the Gorgon Rock and the Deadly Rod are equal in power, I'm going to take advantage of the Blaze sword I found earlier as well, and have 2 Hydora attackers, which I don't think I've ever had in a single run of this cave, to be honest. Let's make sure I get this right. Hydora, Gorgan. Gold Eye actually gives me a little more attack power, so you'll see, you may see that come into play. And you know what? I really don't think I need to feed my capsule pet, but I will because I like burning my time. Even though I'm at my 2-hour mark, I'm going to take a little bit of liberty here. It should only take me about a minute to pump this little dude up a bit. So sorry, whoever's coming after me in the race or in the runs.
Well, that is actually a great opportunity for people who want one of these Zelda 1 randomizer file names to get in a last-minute bid. We are closing that one as soon as the jelly fight commences, so last chance on it as well. Get your donations in.
I don't think I have enough to get Blaze up to form 4, which is his final form that I can feed him to, since I don't have his rare fruit. He's a Griffin right now, and I'm going to go a little bit more. I think I can get him up one more time and pretty much call it a day. With things like that, it does make feeding go a little faster. Sometimes they crave things that they don't actually want, which is kind of strange. Like he said, "Give me that thing," but I gave it to him and he said, "Yuck." The feeding in this game, like I said, is dumb. For lack of better terms, it's just awful. So I'm taking some liberties, and folks, this is the part where I say get out your calculators, although my tracker does have one on screen for you, so if you'd like to play at home, this is a great opportunity to do so. This is something that we traditionally suggest that you do when playing with us in the context of running the cave, because you can too see just how badly I'm doing, or how good I'm doing. We're hoping for some big numbers early on, upwards of 5,000 to 6,000 points minimum damage in the first round of combat, and beyond that, we'll see what other exciting numbers we can get our hands on. And the ideal number at the very end, again, is 9,980. So if we're fortunate enough to get to that number, then congratulations everyone, we'll have a defeated jelly. I may be able to get myself that.
I, for one, am completely comfortable with the feeding frenzy time, because it means we get to hear this final floor music a little bit longer as well.
It is enjoyable. Let's see. Well, I may be able to do it after all. Hey, we did it! I didn't think I'd have enough, and it came close. Alright, so folks, as a reminder, we're going into this with a Gorgon Rock Zap Artie, a Hydora Rock Thunder Salon, a Hydora Rock Thunder Nikos from video games, and a Decker Blade. We'll keep things traditional, and then we'll go up against a jelly. I always like to read this, I hope you don't mind. I never imagined anyone could make it this far! Who are you? Wait a minute, you're just a blob of jelly, right? Fool, I am the strongest and oldest of jellies. I control everything in this cave. I am also the last enemy you meet here. Since you've come this far, show me what you're made of. Now then, I'll show you my gelatinous gestures. So we lead off with our big percentage-based attacks in the front. We'll do some little wimpy attacks from the back. I'm going to cast Thunder a couple of times because it does the most damage that I can possibly do. And we're going to see just how much we do. 1329 is pretty good. We actually may get to see Blaze use a special attack, which, Nikos do a special attack, which who knows? We'll see what we can get. Ooh, those are rare. Now that was a pretty good amount. Now we're going to do 2 triple attacks from the front row. We'll cast Zap from the back and just have Decker attack because he's done with his big explosion of power. Zap will do about 400, and the triple attacks will do a series, handfuls of damage, so we're just going to worry about those later on. We'll add them up. So I'd say we're looking very good right now. We'll put Decker back in the front row and have our boys attack. We're gonna have our spell slingers cast some magic, and I'd say we've got ourselves a kill, folks. The only question is, which red-haired Nikos will get the kill? Will it be Nikos or Nikos from video games? Looks like the kill goes to Nikos.
GG.
That, folks, is a kill. What power and ability! I have to admit you're the world's best warrior. I'm honored to have been able to fight with one as brilliant as you. Before I go, let me give you this. And you get the key to the ancient cave, which gives you access to a couple of exclusive treasures that you only get for beating the jelly. I didn't go into the glitched mess of a room that we're in right now. I'm not going to worry too much about it. As you can see, it's beautiful. And if you want to do this yourself, you should check it out on your own. I'm going to Providence out and showcase just a couple last little minute things because this is a rare opportunity. First off, our inventory keeps all the blue chest items that we found. You can take them back into the cave again, which is exciting. You also, with the key to the ancient cave, get access to this door, which gives you access to the Light Jewel, a powerful rock that has the Zap IP, the Brilliant Helm, which has a reflective property IP ability, and the Dragon Ring, which boosts your offensive parameters by quite a bit. You can take them into the cave if you talk to this guy over here, have him take your stuff, then go over here and open up the chests. It's just a little exploit. And then the final thing that we do before we complete ourselves with a run, aside from saving, of course, to log our logic, is to go into the basement and deposit our reward. So this is the prize for defeating the jelly. We've done everything that there is to do, other than going back into the cave and collecting the Iris treasures, which don't exist, presumably. And folks, I'd like to thank you all for joining me in this slightly over time, but we'll say it evened out because of the inconvenience of lag and the stream dropping out, for what turned out to be a fantastic run and a follow-up to last year's RPG Valks where there was no jelly kill. This one felt good, and I appreciate you being here with me.
Everyone, make sure you go give Ellison a follow. I linked it in chat a moment ago. I will pop it up one more time. GG's on wrapping up that jelly kill. Next up, we're going to be having a Zelda 1 randomizer race after a quick little setup block. So thank you again. Stick around and get ready for more.